It's Tuesday, August 12th of 2025. Good evening and welcome to the daily happenings inside our federal machine. This is Spathon and it's time to plunge into the swamp to see what happened today. The Texas Senate passed the new congressional map, adding 5 Republican and subtracting 5 Democrat districts. Naturally, the Senate Democrats stormed out of the chambers, of course. Democrats are now calling Immigration and Customs Enforcement a terrorist organization, and we'll check out that insanity. The Washington, D.C. National Guard has officially been activated, but will the National Guard be detaining U.S. citizens? We'll hear from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, on that matter. And after President Trump federalized the Washington, D.C. Metro Police, the mayor of Washington, D.C. made a statement, and we'll check out some of that. Also, the D.C. police chief has no idea what the term chain of command means. That's actually pretty hilarious. I mean, she literally doesn't know what it means. And things are getting even worse for Senator Adam Schiff. The FBI uncovered a classified document detailing a Democrat whistleblower informing that FBI that Adam Schiff gave the okay to leak classified information in order to hurt Trump. And FBI Director Cash Patel declassified it. So we'll check that out too. Also, Trump once again extended the tariffs for China. And also, the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin gives an update regarding the progress of rebuilding the Pacific Palisades neighborhoods after the January fire. Probably a lack of rebuilding is more like it. And there's lots more to dig through, so we're going to just dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And I might just read your comment on the next episode if you drop one. And here we go. We're just going to get straight into it. We're going to start right here with Fox News. AG Pam Bondi, she meets with federal agents who were assigned to patrol DC's streets. And let me just make sure I got everything queued up nice and good. As always, I don't want to blow out any eardrums. You know, I got a bad habit of doing that, so I gotta check myself before I fucking wreck myself. All right, so let's check this out from Fox News.
I'd love to. Are you kidding?
Are you kidding?
Thanks, Janine.
Hell yeah, son.
I know. Thank you.
You're gonna take some hella pictures.
Thank you. I'd love to. Hey, guys.
Damn, everybody wanting their picture taken. Picture day. That is a lot of cops, man. Hell yeah. Cracking down on DC crime. One more.
Thank you so much.
All right, there you go. Having fun, meet and greet with all the cops, all the federal police, all the federal officers, the agents and everything, FBI, the DEA, the marshals, even the National Guard. Apparently, they're all going to be patrolling DC, and they're going to crack the hell out of crime in DC. At least we're going to hope so. Oh, by the way, I did get a new microphone, but I think it might even sound worse than the last one. So I think I did fix the crackling issue. At least I pray to God that I did. I don't know. It's been a big pain in the ass just trying to get this whole thing started. And I have very little experience, really no experience with microphones and mixers and OBS and all that stuff. So I'm trying little by little. I'm getting there. But I think the quality of it doesn't sound good. I'm going to work on it. I got sound levels and stuff. Matter of fact, here, I'll just show you right now. So it's a work in progress. I figured out the whole filters thing, sort of. The 3-band equalizer, the expander. I'm going to play around with this stuff. There's some YouTube videos out there that I'm watching and trying to carefully do it the right way, but I have no idea. I just got the microphone last night. I'm starting this episode after 9 o'clock, which is really late for me because I just kept trying to get it right, and I don't know. The weekend's coming up. It's still a few days away, so hopefully by this weekend it'll all be done, all be fixed, and all will be right with the world. At least I pray it will. All right, so anyway, let's move on. So from the GOP, only Democrats would take winning advice from a guy who lost 3 races in 4 years. So from DNC Research, deranged beta O'Rourke goes on a profanity-laced rant. Who cares about the fucking rules right now? Win some fucking power. Yeah, because with the Democrats, there is no truth but power. Because, oh, well, no, it's the evil big bad Republicans who are the fascists. We're totally not the fascists. We're all about democracy. We're all about majority rules. Democracy, democracy, democracy. I mean, come on, dude, give me a fucking break.
We are in a basketball game right now, if you'll excuse the metaphor, where the refs have left the arena. And the other side is just clobbering the shit out of us. Just punching us in the face, kicking us in the nuts. And we're kind of throwing our hands up and we're asking the crowd, the people of America, hey, do you see what's going on here? This is unfair. This isn't the rules that we agreed to play by. Well, who cares about the fucking rules right now? Punch back, kick back,
He's so cool because he said the fucking word.
And win some fucking power.
Oh my God, he's so cool. He rides skateboards and he says the fucking word. Oh my God, Beta is so cool, man. Where's your shades, dude? Yeah. All right, whatever. That's fucking retarded. But here, let's see. Actually, it's kind of pointless to go through the comments because it is from RNC Research. I mean, it's going to be loaded with, just slam dunking all over Beta. The host looks uncomfortable. Yeah, probably. Beto is an overdramatic loser. Yeah, this is mainstream the Democrats' behavior. And so on and so forth. MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. Beta. There you go. Beta. Oh, dork. Beta, oh, dork. I haven't heard that one before. Why is this guy even relevant? How many elections in a row has he lost? 3, I think, right? Isn't that what they said above? Well, on the last post, I think they said he lost 3, didn't he? Well, of course, they were responding to the RNC research. But yeah, he lost 3 races in 4 years. Yeah, why are they even entertaining him? I just don't get it. And how much is he getting paid for that? Because he's getting paid, because Democrats, they always get paid for showing up to something. All right, anyway, we'll have enough fun with that one. So Rapid Response 47, press secretary in January when this president showed up to the White House. The 6-month annualized core inflation rate was 3.7%. Today, it's only 2.4%. So we are trending in the right direction. Small business optimism has reached a 5-month high. Hell yeah.
When this president showed up to the White House, the 6-month annualized core inflation rate was 3.7%. Today, 6 months later, the 6-month annualized core inflation rate is 2.4%. So we are trending in the right direction. Moving forward, since President Trump
I tend to
took
believe
office,
it.
for another 6 months, inflation will be tracking at 1.9%. At this trajectory, you look at grocery prices, they fell, energy prices fell, fuel oil fell,
maybe some.
fares fell, propane fell, butter, margarine, eggs, non-prescription drugs. You go through the
Yeah,
list of
those
items
probably
that
fell.
are falling. And then I would also point to that report. This
Egg sure
morning
shit better
showing that
fall.
Small business optimism has reached a 5-month high. So look,
All
we
right.
inherited
Little
an
by little.
economic mess from
We
the
did.
previous administration, but this administration is focused on fixing it every day.
You
And part
better
of that is
believe it.
signing the largest tax cuts into law to put more money back into the pockets of these small business owners.
Yep, let's hope so. I did see a projection as far as the gas prices go. Apparently, worldwide, there's more production happening currently than there is consumption. So they are forecasting gas prices to go down. They didn't exactly say by how much. They just said that they're forecasted to go down. I don't know. I'm still waiting for Trump's $1.79 gas that we had during his first term. We got to get that back again. We really want to get rocking and rolling. But any downward direction of prices is a good thing. I mean, I'll take that as a win no matter what, really. All right, so let's go on to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. When it comes to deciding on a new Fed chair, it's about economics and what's best for the American people. I'm focused on 3 things: monetary policy, regulatory policy, and streamlining a bloated Fed that risks its monetary independence. Yeah, that's an understatement. Fucking
It's
Fed.
about economics, what's best for the American people, what's best for the economy. And as I
hope
talk
that's
to the
loud enough.
candidates, I'm looking at 3 things: monetary policy, regulatory policy, and the ability to run and revamp the organization, because it's really gotten bloated, and I think that
yeah.
this bloat puts its monetary independence at risk.
Yeah, bloated. That's an understatement. Gargantuanly bloated, more like it. Just shut it down, man. I'm sure he doesn't have the power to unilaterally to shut it down, but they've got to fucking shut this shit down already. It absolutely hijacking pretty much every bit of our economy. It's absolutely crazy. It's nice to have a president that actually works for the American people. Yeah, that's true. Smooth and very nice. Mr. Secretary, thanks for all you do for our beloved country. You have great hair. Okay. Best Treasury Secretary. See, I don't really know much about him. I don't know anything about Scott Bessent. Is he actually like a good, legit dude to be running the Treasury? I hope he is. I really hope so. Let's see. Feel it's in good hands. You've been steady and effective and an excellent Treasury Secretary. All right. Well, I mean, I'll take their word for it. Discussing Fed chair while rocking perfect hair. They love his hair, man. Yeah, Gavin Newsom, he no longer has the top hairdo in politics. Nope, not anymore. I don't know, man. Some people, I don't know, man. He probably doesn't even have real hair. It's probably just some really, really expensive toupee that he's got on for all we know. Let's see. I think our Treasury Secretary Bessent, who did I mention, is a billionaire, is a complete treasure himself, smart, humble, and who possesses a great desire to serve our country. I mean, I'm not against that at all. If the Treasury Secretary happens to be a billionaire, obviously he knows money, and you kind of want somebody as the Treasury Secretary who knows money. That just kind of reminds me of Trump's, well, I think it was his first debate. I think it was his first debate against Hillary Clinton, where he said, it's about time that the American people elect a president who knows money, who understands money. I absolutely loved it, man. That first debate had me like 100% on board for Trump when that happened. All right, so anyway, let's just move on to the next one. So, yep, we'll see. So they're looking to find the new head of the Fed. All right, so Lee Zeldin, the Trump administration has played a critical role in clearing and greenlighting thousands of properties in Los Angeles, including EPA's hazardous material removal in record time, under 30 days. Here's the deal. Federal regulations are not preventing any home from being built, or rebuilt rather. State and local electeds and bureaucrats in California and Los Angeles need to immediately get cranking in an extremely big way to approve projects for Californians to rebuild their properties ASAP. No more delays, no more excuses. It's going to take them forever. We all know that's going to happen. It's going to take years and years before we even start seeing fucking foundations, let alone full houses being built. Just if you remember back in late January, early February, or I think it was like at the last day of January when Trump went and met with Karen Bass and all those other officials when they were having that roundtable discussion with regard to how to handle the red tape, the regulations. And Karen Bass said that, well, we think in record time we'll be able to get all of the permits completed in probably about 2 years. And Trump was like, 2 years? Hell, why not like 2 weeks? He's like, no, we need these done like yesterday, man. There's no reason for it to take 2 years. And then she quote unquote corrected herself and said, well, we might be able to get it done in a matter of months. But yeah, no, that ain't gonna happen. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong though. And anyway, here, let's check this out. This is from Adam Carolla, comedian Adam Carolla. He's got his own podcast, very entertaining. I've watched quite a few of them, but he lives in LA, born and raised. He one of his more famous moments was when he was speaking in front of Congress, one of the oversight committees, about DEI and how he applied to be a firefighter in Los Angeles. And because they considered him to be a white male, they didn't call him back for over 10 years. It took him 10 years to finally call him back and say, hey, are you still interested in being a firefighter? Meanwhile, he mentioned certain, persons of a certain skin tone. They were hired with the LA Fire Department like immediately. When they put in their applications, they were immediately approved for the academy or whatever the hell. But anyway. So this is Tuesday, 8:30 a.m., over 8 months after the fire, and zero construction. I'm assuming that's in Adam Carolla's apartment, because he does have an apartment, like, on the beach, I guess. He's got one hell of a view now, though. I mean, if anybody, he really doesn't really have to complain just based on the view by itself, but I'm sure at the end of the day, he wants to see it all rebuilt. I mean, these are all people's homes that are gone. Yeah, they might be rich as hell, but they're still their homes that are gone. Whether if you're rich or you're poor, it's devastating to lose your house, especially for it to sit empty like that for years. Especially that property, the millions of dollars that you spent to enjoy that view every day, all those years of hard work that you put into accumulating that amount of money to get a freaking view like that, and then to have it just wiped away by not just fire, but just really shitty regulations and governance in California. And now they're probably a decade, maybe a decade without getting to admire that view on a daily basis. All right, so from Rapid Response 47, U.S. Attorney Bureau, she displays examples of teenage victims shot and killed in D.C. earlier this year. And that's a quote from her. Might as well just go ahead and play it, so let her quote herself.
Here are the individuals who were shot and killed under the age of 20, all teenagers in 2025.
Wow,
and the
man.
number here is 16. Again, all members of the minority community here.
Right.
I don't
True.
know how many of these cases have been solved, but what I can tell you is, again, it's guns on the streets. It's individuals who are not concerned about accountability. who don't have any reason to fear law enforcement. I am here today to tell you that on behalf of all of these victims, all of these families, that they're going to be accountable, that we are going to make a difference,
Amen.
and that we are going to make sure that law enforcement is focused on these innocent, now silent victims of crime in the district.
Oh, yeah, man. Trump, he made a good choice. That's for damn sure. He made a really good choice with Janine Pirro. I keep wanting to say Judge Janine. But yeah, I'm sure she's going to do excellent at her job. Hands down. Although she did come out and say that she was a little bit pissed off at the Trump administration because when she got into her office that it was understaffed because there were cuts because of course they're cutting everything they can, all the fraud, the waste, the abuse. Not to say that her office was rife with fraud or abuse or anything like that, but supposedly there weren't. I honestly I don't know if she actually blamed the cuts on her staff or on her office being understaffed, but she was just saying that her office was understaffed and she was looking into getting more staffing. But I'm sure anything that she needs, I'm sure she's got it. Of course she does. I mean, they're cracking out on DC crime for crying out loud. All right. So from Greg Price, reporter, do you know what the chain of command is now? As in who's in the chain of command? Like from the top down. That's what he's asking. He's not asking, like, what does it mean? But she doesn't know what it means. DC Police Chief Pamela Smith. What does that mean? This is hilarious, man. You can't make this shit up.
That's what the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
So, the executive order is
I'll
clear.
speak for
the president
DEI
has
at its
requested
finest.
MPD services, and our home rule charter outlines the process. The president designated Attorney General Bondi as his proxy to request services through me.
Yeah, so that was trending today. That the chief of police of Washington, D.C. doesn't know what chain of command means. Like the phrase chain of command. What the hell is that? All right. So this is from Nick Shorter. This is the big news of the day. Breaking: the Texas Senate has officially passed the new U.S. House maps as Democrats stormed out of the chamber. LMAO. The Dems are big mad. Of course they are. Now, all it needs is House approval, and Republicans will pick up potentially 5 U.S. House seats. That is awesome. And I actually released a clip of Gavin Newsom earlier this morning around 8 o'clock on my channel from yesterday's episode where Gavin was threatening to essentially gerrymander more of California, where Republicans are only 16% are represented in California, even though 25% of California are registered Republicans. But they're only represented by 16% of districts in Congress in California. And he wants to gerrymander 5 more away, which would drop it from 16% down to 7%. So Republicans would have 7% of congressional seats in California, while the Democrats would have the remaining 93%. It's fucking lunacy. But anyway, yeah, if you want to check that out, that I released that earlier this morning, or I posted it. So let's check this out and see what happens. Let's check out the damn walkout. Look at this map though, man. Look at that. All red. Little blue specks. The poor little demon rats. They're so mad. Just posturing. Trying to look good for the cameras. Because they know shit's what's going to go viral. Which this one basically did. 53,000 likes. That's the talk of the town for today, at least. So, and it's the Governor Abbott. He got a little bit of movement in the Supreme Court. It's in its next phase right now. I believe that I actually have that to talk about. At least I hope I bookmarked it. But if not, it looks like the very latest that the Supreme Court is going to move for like I don't know about a decision on if they're going to remove all the Democrats who fled Texas. I don't know if that's going to come up in early September, but the dates that they gave in the Supreme Court, like filing deadlines and all that typical stuff that happens during a court process, it's looking like early September. Maybe we might hear something, maybe mid-September, to see if the Supreme Court will allow them to be forcibly removed from their seats and replaced, which would be hilarious. All right, so this is from Chairwoman Lisa McClain. Our courageous ICE officers are hard at work arresting terrorists who are in our country illegally and hiding in our communities. I call on all House Democrats to immediately condemn this disgusting and dangerous rhetoric against ICE officers who are already facing an 830% increase in assaults against them. Matter of fact, I heard it's up to 900 now, and I also read somewhere else that, well, I guess it depends on how you word it, that it was approaching 1,000%. So, and from townhall.com, they're saying it's nearly 800%, but I mean, it's regardless, even if it was 500%, that's fucking insane. But so this comes from townhall.com, Democrat Rep. Delia Ramirez. ICE is a terrorist organization. This kind of rhetoric is unacceptable, and it's why assaults against our nation's ICE officers are up nearly 800%. Yeah, because Democrat voters and just the everyday, the rabble, the NPC, they're brainwashed, and they're almost so horrifically brainwashed they've almost reached the level of brain dead. It is absolutely crazy.
Well, Tom Homan, let me tell you, all over the country, we will continue to stand up for our rights, and we will continue to call out the terrorist organization that is ICE.
Oh, you're psychotic, lady. You are fucking psychotic. So from townhall.com, terrorist organization, the rhetoric is so out of control. It is, man. They double down and double down and double down and double down. That's just what they do. I think they're just going to double down themselves into oblivion. That's really what's going to end up happening to the Democrats. It's absolutely crazy. She's an anchor, baby. Deport her. The Marxists within need to be eradicated. Uh-huh. Yeah, that would certainly make the country a better place if they were. I mean, you can fill in the rest of that. I'm not going to be calling on any kind of violence or anything like that. Like, I mean, frankly, I think it's an absolute shame what happened to the Democratic Party. I mean, we kind of need a two-party system because if one party ends up with a supermajority long-term, slippery slope shit could end up happening. Not that I think that Republicans would really slide down some slippery slope into like any kind of rampant authoritarianism or anything crazy. If there's one party that would be better off as a supermajority, by far it'd be better to be the Republicans than the freaking Democrats. I was just thinking earlier, could you imagine if the Supreme Court were flipped and it was 6 liberal and 3 conservative? And the fact that the Supreme Court has been leaning conservative for something like 90 years or something like that, like for a hell of a long time. Thank God. Could you imagine if it was the other way around? I mean, I couldn't even imagine it. It would be like what Hollywood envisions our future to look like. You see all those futuristic movies that Hollywood always puts out, like Judge Dredd and Looper and Blade Runner and all those other movies. They look dystopic. They look nightmarish. It looks like a wasteland. And that's what Hollywood envisions for us. Elysium, that's another good example. I mean, there's tons of good examples of what Hollywood envisions our future to look like. It's kind of crazy. Makes you wonder if they're working with the CIA and other intel agencies, and maybe they're just actually just trying to show us a preview of what to expect in the years to come. But yeah, I have no doubt that's what our future would look like if it was under full Democrat rule. No doubt in my mind. All right, so this is from Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs. And Cuban, Venezuelan regimes put officials over their citizens. And I'll just read a brief little bit of this if it decides to ever pop up. Yeah, here we go. So this is from shareamerica.gov. And so Cuban, Venezuelan regimes, they put officials over their own citizens. Now, I know it's not directly related to the DC swamp, but it was put out by, government website, government profile, and so on. So, it's government related. So, and it did come out in late July, so there is that. But anyway, tourists sip cocktails in state-owned Cuban resorts while local children go without milk. Venezuelan students sit in crumbling schools while the illegitimate dictatorship spends millions on propaganda and spyware. Millions. These aren't isolated figures. They're symptoms of a larger design. The economic crisis in Cuba and Venezuela weren't imported. They are homegrown. Both incompetent regimes have long blamed foreign forces and external pressure for their hardships, but the truth is simpler and more damning. Decades of corruption, economic mismanagement, and elite enrichment have hollowed out once functioning economies and left ordinary people to pay the price. And Cuba, they're full of empty hotels, full regime pockets. Once proud of its sugar exports and medical system, Cuba now imports sugar and faces routine blackouts and suffers shortages of medical care. Yet in 2024, according to Spanish newswire Agencia EFE, the Cuban regime allocated more than 37% of its total investment to the tourism and hospitality sector, over 11 times more than is spent on healthcare and education combined. Holy shit. Existing hotels sit largely empty, while occupancy rates hovering around 30%, but construction of new resorts continues, probably because they're skimming a lot off the top. That'd be my guess. Who benefits? The Cuban military conglomerates like GAESA, FinCemex, and CEMEX, and the regime officials who run them. These entities dominate the island's tourism, remittance, and retail sectors, serving the regime's elite, not the public. Cubans struggle with food, fuel, electricity shortages, while resources are funneled into beach resorts and regime-tied vanity projects that can be privatized to their elite managers when the regime collapses, as occurred in the Soviet Union. So, and then there's Venezuela, propaganda over progress, different flag waves over the same broken model, which is propped up by the Cuban security services that monitor and intimidate the Venezuelan armed forces. Bloomberg News reports that in 2024, the Maduro regime spent more than $2 billion in a few months, the highest spending rate of the year, hitting just as a presidential election was held, despite the fact that $1.7 billion in taxes was collected that same month. The minimum wage remained under $2 per month. What? $2 a month. Less than the cost of a kilo of cheese. Damn. Now, they're not earning literally $2 a month. Their inflation rate has gone absolutely apocalyptic. The last time that I heard was the average monthly wage of a Venezuelan is $40,000 a month. However, if you go and you buy a hot dog from a street vendor, it costs like $26,000 for a hot dog. So, but if you do the exchange rate, yeah, it boils down to like $2 a month. So like basically like 40,000 Venezuelan dollars or whatever they call it, pesos or whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it, but it's basically $2, more or less. So anyway, news reports in late 2023 note that the regime claimed to double its 2024 national budget to over $20.5 billion, ostensibly for economic growth. But according to the news site Telesur, only $180 million, less than 1%, was allocated to the health sector. And while military intelligence received nearly $1 billion for counterintelligence technology for internal repression, including of military officers, just 18 million with an M was set aside to feed over 5 million school children. That's only $3.49 per student per year. $3.50 per year. That is insane. Venezuela's infrastructure reflects these distorted priorities. 2009, $7.5 billion railway deal with China resulted in nothing but abandoned construction sites, yet the debt continues to be paid in discounted oil. In Venezuela, blackouts regularly plunged large swaths of the country into darkness. The online Spanish language site El Impulso reports that one 2024 power outage affected 16 states, followed by another just days later that left 20 states without electricity for over 12 hours. Years of regime neglect, theft, and corruption are to blame. Yeah, just crazy. And I mean, it goes on. More and more information if you're interested in the ongoings of Cuba and Venezuela. Obviously, it's a pretty interesting read. But yeah, absolutely crazy, man. Like, could you imagine how negatively that would affect our economy if like 20 states in the United States were to lose power for 12 straight hours? Just everything just grinding to a halt. It'd be a disaster, especially if that were happening on a regular basis. It's crazy as hell. All right, anyway, so let's move on to Rapid Response 47 from the DEA headquarters. Administrator Terry Cole, starting tonight, we will be embedded with the Metropolitan Police Department, and you'll also see an increase of patrol activity in certain sectors to go after the violent criminal offenders that are the drivers of this crime.
It's not safe. People do not.
No, it ain't safe.
The amount of citizens that have come up to me on the street and said, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for taking on another responsibility. We appreciate the federal agents that are out there every single night. And now, starting tonight, we will be embedded with the Metropolitan Police Department. You will see federal agents working hand in hand on patrol with the Metropolitan Police Department. You will also see an increase of activity, patrol activity, in certain sectors to go after the violent criminal offenders that are the drivers of this crime. We cannot afford to turn a blind eye, Martha.
It makes me wonder if they're going to do stop and frisk like they used to do in New York City. They've just stop people and just frisk them. If that's literally what they were doing, I know that's the Democrat messaging. I don't know if they were literally stopping just random people and just frisking them. Not sure if that was actually literally happening or not, but I mean, if it is, I can't really say that I agree with that because that's kind of infringing on your rights. But I don't know, man. Desperate times, desperate measures. I guess maybe you could concede to that. I don't know. Leave a comment. Let me know. So from House Foreign Affairs Committee, and let's get the rest of that. Good grief. The House Foreign Affairs Committee majority. Let's see. Israel isn't going into Gaza because they want to. They're taking the necessary next steps to secure the hostages and stop Hamas's reign of terror. Take a look at this.
Final thought from you on Netanyahu and his plans for Gaza. This is more from Bill's interview. Listen.
Are you saying today that you will take control of the entire 26-mile Gaza Strip?
Well, we don't want to keep it. We want to have a security perimeter. We don't want to govern it. We don't want to be there as a governing body. We want to hand it over to
yeah, because there'd probably be a financial black hole, man.
That will govern it properly without threatening us and giving Gazans a good life.
So an update to that, Congressman, is a follow with Vice President Vance earlier today in that bilat with the UK's David Lammy about their decision to recognize the state of Palestine. Listen here.
We have no plans to recognize a Palestinian state. I don't know what it would mean to really recognize a Palestinian state, given the lack of a functional government there.
So let us know how you see all of this and what they have laid out, and if this is moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I'd make a couple of quick points. One, Israel is not doing something that they just want to do this. They're doing what they have to do because this is what the intelligence tells them. This is where captives are being held. This is where they're being starved. This is where Hamas is still operating out of. They're doing what they have to do in order to eliminate this enemy and bring the innocent people home. They're also doing this anywhere that they go in. They try to move any civilians out of that population. Now, going to what Vice President Vance said, you know, absolutely, you look at this and you say, it does nothing to recognize a Palestinian state other than give a level of credibility to the evil entity of Hamas that everybody has agreed started this war. This war exists because of their genocide that they committed against Israel. So anybody thinking about recognizing a Palestinian state, they're simply giving horrifically power to the terror entity that is the de facto government in the Gaza Strip.
Yep, so that's the latest on what's happening there. All they got to do is give up the hostages, and it'll be over. I mean, of course, they're probably going to wipe out Hamas as soon as they give up the hostages. But I mean, that should go without saying. Which is probably why they're stonewalling. Who knows? I'm honestly not too brushed up on Israeli affairs with Hamas and Palestine and Gaza Strip and all that stuff. But anyway, that was just a little tidbit of what's going on there currently. So from Mayor Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., my message to D.C. residents. It's not the full interview, but we got a minute and a half of it, so let's listen to this a little bit.
Residents is this. We know that access to our democracy
is tenuous. Take a shot.
That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia. We are American citizens.
It's all statehood stuff.
War. We pay taxes and we uphold the responsibilities of citizens.
Well, then move to Maryland or Virginia.
And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
Oh, by the way, she met with AG Pam Bondi this morning, and Pam Bondi said that they had a very good, cordial, and productive conversation. So just take that for what you will.
I can say to D.C. residents that we will continue to operate our government in a way that makes you proud. We will balance our budgets. We will deploy our services.
What about crack down on crime?
We're going to start school on August 25th. And we will work with
so
the
dramatic,
federal government to do the things that they should do for our city, including making sure that we have the judges that we need.
Oh, yeah, the far leftist judges.
Sure
no
that
cash
all
bail.
Federal parks are supported, not just with law enforcement, but with other clean and safe activities, and including making
that mean no drugs and homeless?
That our economy is supported by rational federal actions as it relates to the federal workforce, federal workers, and federal property in the District of Columbia.
Yeah, whatever. They just want statehood so they get 2 more Democrat senators. I mean, we all know what that's all about. All right, so from the FBI, data reported to the FBI shows that more than 1 million criminal incidents occurred at schools over the last 5 years. Schools. Learn about the crimes and what time of year they most frequently take place in a new special report on the FBI's Crime Data Explorer. Now, this took me a minute to bring up, so this is the article, but you can find the details here under special reports. So let that load up, and we'll read through this a little bit here. So this came out yesterday. No, it actually did come out today. Okay, yeah, so on August 12th, the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program released the Crime in Schools 2020 to 2024 special report on the FBI's Crime Data Explorer. This report examines criminal incidents that occurred at schools over this 5-year period, including the characteristics of victims and offenders involved in the incidents. The crimes included were reported to the FBI's UCR program by participating law enforcement agencies via the National Incident-Based Reporting System. From 2020 to 2024, agencies reported more than 1 million incidents, I think it was actually like 1.2 or something, occurring at school locations with approximately 1.5 million victims and 1.2 million known offenders. The information contained in this report is intended to show the depth of data collected. By examining these facets, law enforcement agencies, policymakers, and school officials can discover trends to help develop strategic plans and proactive policies to protect educational institutions of all levels. Most criminal incidents reported occur in September. Interesting. The crimes did not necessarily occur during the school day. The most common crimes occurring at school locations were assaults, larceny and thefts, and drug narcotic offenses. Personal weapons, hands, fists, and feet were the most frequently reported weapon type, followed by knife and cutting instrument and handgun. So let's see if this thing came up. Yeah, it did. Okay, so it's the top one here. This is actually the website for the FBI special reports. So they actually have a list of stuff on here, like arson offenses over the last 10 years, officers that were killed and assaulted in the line of duty last year. So yeah, they've got a lot of really detailed information, statistics, what have you. So crime in schools, 2020 to 24. Now it's 17 pages, so it's obviously way too long to go through here, but this will be linked in the description. Everything I click on, that'll be on here. That'll be down in the description, everything. Anything that I click on, it'll be down there. So let's see. So from 20 to 24, agencies reported 1,299,063 criminal incidents occurring at school locations. See, I thought it's 1.3 actually. Via NIBRS, there were 1.5 million offenses, 1.53 million victims, and 1.25 million known offenders associated with those incidents. And the subset of NIBRS data shows the following information was reported, and they list the assaults, larceny, thefts, the drugs, if there was a weapon involved with the crime, most common month for incidents. Most victims who were 18 were 18 or younger, between 13 and 15. Most victims were female. Most reported race of victims was white. The most reportedly ethnicity was not Hispanic or Latino. Most victims were residents of the jurisdiction where it occurred. Many of the victims were not hurt or suffered only minor injuries, and were acquainted with the offender. When looking at the known offenders, the age group reported most frequently was 13 to 15. The sex is male, race white, ethnicity not Hispanic or Latino. So they actually show some tables here. Number of agencies and population covered by year, and they've got the data there. Number of incidents, offenses, victims, and known offenders by year. And let's see, number of incidents by month. And this gets into the incidents, offenses, victims, and known offenders by offense type. So assault offenses, that was 538,000. And this is, I believe this is total, right? Yeah, this is the total number. Sex offenses, 45,582 sex offenses at school. What the fuck, man? Kidnapping and abduction. Look at this, 2,600 kidnappings and abductions out of school. That is crazy. Sex offenses non-enforceable. I mean, look at this. They even have, oh shit, where was it? There's fraud, 23,000 incidences of fraud, okay. Counterfeiting and forgery, robbery, arson, embezzlement, bribery, even human trafficking. I mean, that's freaking crazy. Even prostitution offenses at school, animal cruelty, pornography, drug and narcotic offenses, 244,000, 250,000. Drug and narcotic offenses at public school. Gambling, 80. Yeah, so it's absolutely nuts, man. The weapon and the force involved. firearms, asphyxiation, rifles, explosives, shotgun poisonings. I mean, dude, they've got everything, man. These statistics, they go deep. Go really deep. Individual, society and public, business, these are victim types. And it's just more tables and graphs, pie charts. So they even break it down, relationship to the victim, between the victim and offender. I mean, they got it all broken down. Grandchild, step-parents, employees, employers. Yeah. Just goes on and on and on. So anyway, I'll link that if you want to check that out. Lots and lots of statistics from the FBI with regard to school crime. And there is a lot there, man. A lot more than I would have ever expected. That's an absolute insane number. All right, so this comes from Dr. Oz from the CMS. Pharmaceutical companies understand that Americans should not be paying 3 times more for their products than Europeans. They understand the reality of this problem, and they're already sitting down with us to negotiate. Yeah, the main reason why they're sitting down is because President Trump already wrote letters to all of the major pharmaceutical companies in America, letting them know that if they don't start reducing their drug prices to be on par with other countries that they sell to, then he's going to basically do something about it, probably by executive order or something like that. And apparently some of them have already pledged to do just that, to start working on that, because it is price gouging the American people. Countries like France, Germany, Canada, they'll get a prescription for like $20, but here in America, that same exact prescription is like $100. It's insane. So anyway, we'll hear from Dr. Oz with regard to this.
One thing that Medicaid patients should not face are drug prices they can't afford.
Right.
Then,
how do you enforce this?
Well, the pharmaceutical companies, if you sit them down quietly, Margaret, and we've done that, and say, you went into this business
wrote letters to them
at some point because you cared about people. I know there's many out there shaking their heads, but that is actually the truth. People go into healthcare, whether they're pharmaceutical companies or insurance companies or the PBMs or anybody in the space. Evidence, the CMS, the most impressive thing to me in my new task that the president has appointed me to is the remarkable quality of the people within the organization. Just unbelievably talented. They went into this job because they care about healthcare and about people. Somewhere along the lines, people forget. They put numbers ahead of patients. And when that happens, then we start running the problem. So we went to the pharmaceutical companies and we said, you appreciate this is not a fair system. We should not be paying more in America, 3 times more for your products than you charge in Europe. They get the joke.
Ridiculous.
They understand the reality of this problem. They are engaging with us. We're in the middle of those negotiations. The president has a unique power to convene. We've done it with dealing with prior authorization, this heinous process where patients feel like they're trying to get care from a doctor, and everything's being done, except all of a sudden the arm of insurance comes in and stops the whole process for unknown reasons for weeks, sometimes months. The insurance companies representing 80% of the American public got together and they said, because we pushed them, we're going to deal with this. We can do the same, I believe, with the pharmaceutical industry with most favored nation pricing.
Yep. And it's getting worse. So that actually has me wanting to look up something real quick. Let me start up a new one here. I should have said short answer, damn it. Oh, well, let's see. It's something like 40% I read somewhere. Okay, maybe not. All right, here. Out-of-network claims face a 37% denial rate. The average denial rate for in-network claims, according to healthcare.gov, was 19% in 2023. Specific insurers like United have been reported to deny up to 33% of claims. What the fuck, man? What the hell? It is ridiculous. For lack of a better word, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I blame Obamacare. I think Obamacare fucked up our insurance industry completely. Back before Obamacare, once upon a time, if anybody listening to this, were you alive back in the 2000s? From at any point in the 2000s, 2004, 5, 8, 9, health insurance wasn't that bad. And it wasn't nearly as expensive as it is now. Now they're making you pay fucking deductibles and shit. That you have to pay like up to $8,000 out of pocket, and that's your maximum for the year. And after that point, you can get basically whatever done without paying any extra. It's insanity. I mean, back then, you could get a decent health insurance policy, pay $250 for inpatient, and that was it. You're in the hospital for a month, and you had all kinds of surgeries and all kinds of stuff done. $250, that's it. That's all you got to pay. That's it. Or $100 for the ER, period. And primary care, $20. Specialist, $35. Media care was $50. I mean, that was common back then, and that's not the case anymore. if you get that same policy with those same copays that I just described, and if you go and get it from what was it, the Obamacare, healthcare.gov or whatever the fuck it is, it's something like $1,500 or $1,800 per month that you have to pay to get those deductibles. It's appalling. But so appeals are rare, with fewer than 1% of denied claims appealed, and insurers uphold their original decision in 56% of those cases. Denial rates vary by state, with Alabama reporting the highest average in-network denial rate at 34%. And South Dakota is the lowest at only 6%. So I guess if you don't care where you live, and if you've got some serious pre-existing conditions, I guess South Dakota might be the place to go. So for behavioral health services, denial rates are notably high, with some estimates suggesting up to 70% of mental health claims are denied. Wow. Well, we can't prove that they actually have it. That's why we got to deny it, because we can't really prove it. It's crazy. And if I had more time, I would get further into this, because I'd be really curious to see what the denial rate was, say 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I bet it was way, way less than this number. What, 20%? Or out of network, 37%. It's unreal, man. So basically, if you have, God forbid, if you have 5 emergencies or 5 healthcare issues that crop up, one of those are getting just outright denied. Sorry, got to pay it out of pocket. And healthcare these days, it's bankrupting people left and right. It's an absolute tragedy. All right, so let's see if we can get into something a little bit better, or a little more lighthearted, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, so from Rapid Response 47, press secretary reads a poll from the Washington Post that shows that 65% of DC residents thinks that crime is an extremely serious or a very serious problem. I mean, at least that's good, because what is it, like 90% of people who vote in Washington, D.C., probably even just the average people, just like non-government employees, they probably vote 90% Democrat too. That wouldn't surprise me. So at least it's kind of nice to hear that the majority of them actually are willing to concede that the crime is out of freaking control in D.C. So here, I'll just let him quote. That's Benny Johnson, isn't it? Looks like Benny Johnson.
As a DC resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol
Yeah, that's got to be Ben. Yeah, that's Benny Johnson.
So many muggings and so much theft.
He has a podcast.
I was carjacked.
I think he lives in Florida, just like me.
Camera and mass shootings. I witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20, and my house was set ablaze.
Set on fire. I saw that video.
With my infant child inside. And so, to any reporter that says and lies that DC is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to...
Yeah, like for real. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you what he's talking about, because he actually posted this just the other day. It's absolutely wild. And this is in Washington, D.C., when he used to live there. So I'll see. Yeah, hopefully he didn't post a shitload today, because... Oh, that's a good picture. Hold on, let's see. It's a video he posted. Actually, I could probably zoom out of this a little bit, make it a little easier on myself. That was 5 hours. It was before then. Yeah, man, this dude's busy as hell on X. I guess I probably could just search his profile. Let's see if I can find it. Well, I didn't think it would be this far down. That's hilarious. Big balls. Benny, dude, you are tweeting way too much, brother. All right, here it is. My security camera will show you what life was like for a family living in D.C. Here's a mass shooting and murder in my front lawn, followed by my house being set on fire with my wife and infant children inside. Check this out. Check this shit out. Look at this. Dude just got shot. Did you hear the gunshot? Or I'll go back to hear it again. Dude got shot on his porch and fell into his fucking rose bushes. His house is on fire now. Police department's busting open his front door. Good on nation's capital. Yeah, so that happened to Benny Johnson in total insanity.
Save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on on securing this city. My question to you
Ain't no wonder he doesn't live there anymore.
Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president for deploying
When is she not
National Guard
attacking the president?
to the city, saying that it is to cover for his incompetence. Hillary Clinton
She repeats the name Donald Trump in her sleep.
for securing the city of Washington, D.C. I'd like to get your response to.
Probably calls her husband Donald Trump during sex.
Well, first of all, Benny, I'm so sorry that happened to you and your family.
Oh my God, I'm sorry I put that image in your head.
Unfortunately, far too many victims of crime in this city, and I know the majority of residents in the District of Columbia agree with you. In fact, a new poll from the Washington Post I was reading this morning, this was released in May of 2024. So it's quite funny how many of you in the media agreed with what the president was saying yesterday, but now once the president says it, many of you are disagreeing with him.
Well, of course.
This poll released by the Washington Post found
It's their left-wing
that,
overlords.
65% of district residents think crime is an extremely serious or a very serious problem.
You got it, dude.
56% last year. So the concern that you share with so many other residents in the District of Columbia is real, and that's why this president is taking action to address it. To get to the heart of your question, I think it's despicable that Democrats cannot agree that we need more law and order in a city that has been ravaged by violence, crime, murders, property theft. This should be a winning issue for all Americans.
Well, they can't admit it because they have control over the city. By admitting that there's a lot of crime, they would have to admit fault. They would have to admit that this is all by their doing, which everybody already knows. Even the Democrats all know. They all know. I mean, it's no secret.
I don't understand. It's just anything President Trump does, the Democrats want to disagree with. I think the president would love to work with Democrats on this issue to bring law and order to America's cities, but unfortunately they have failed, and that's why he's taken this historic action.
The scumbaggery.
To federalize the National Guard. And as you're seeing from last night's numbers, we already have seen success. We are removing violent offenders, we are arresting criminals, and we are removing drugs and firearms off of the streets of the city to make it safer for all of its residents.
Little by little. Amen. We'll see how it goes in the coming days. I mean, I'm sure we're going to be getting plenty of reports out. I'm kind of curious to see if we'll get some footage in the coming days to see them rounding people up, arresting them, seeing them getting the job done. And I'm sure they're probably going to start publishing numbers, I would say, in the next week or two to let us know how many they've been arresting and how many crimes have been reported, things like that. Of course, we're not going to hear anything from the left-wing media, but you'll most likely see it here. You'll see it here on my show because I'm looking through just lists of government officials and agencies, administrations, politicians, the top officials. I mean, I'm following all of them, and I'm scrolling through it every day, just trying to pick through what I believe is important that the mainstream media probably isn't going to talk about. I mean, that's what I try to select on here when I'm going through this stuff. All right, so let me zoom in a little bit so you can read it if you're looking at this on your smartphone. So this is from the Chicago Tribune. Amid rising electric bills, states are under pressure to insulate regular household and business ratepayers from the cost of feeding big tech's energy-hungry data centers. So this isn't a government agency. However, very often government agencies, their X profiles, they will repost articles from mainstream media. This probably came from the Department of Energy. They repost news articles quite often when it has to do with the Department of Energy. I wish they would actually had said that up there, which of course it doesn't, even though I bookmarked it from them. But anyway, so let's take a quick look at this. I mean, this is what I was afraid of. Right? And anybody else who's paying attention to this the explosion in AI infrastructure that everybody's investing in. I mean, Apple, they're not investing all $600 billion into AI, but they're investing a significant amount of it into it. And Trump knows this. That's why he cut a lot of red tape with nuclear power. And they're trying to get ahead of it. But the Biden administration, the Democrats, with all of this renewable energy bullshit that they've been rolling out over the last decade, they really put us behind in a very big way because China, they've been building coal plants more and more. They've got 30 under construction right now, actually like 35 under construction right now. And they're doing that because they're building up AI. A lot more Chinese citizens are driving electric vehicles, which weighs down the power grid even more. And they're trying to do the same thing here, but they want us to run on batteries. It makes no fucking sense. It's absolutely ridiculous. So this is from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Amid rising electric bills, states are under pressure to insulate regular households and business ratepayers from the cost of feeding big tech's energy-hungry data centers. It's not clear that any state has a solution, and the actual effect of data centers on electricity bills is difficult to pin down. Nuclear power, folks, nuclear power. I know it takes years to build. That's what they got to do. They got to build more and more and more power plants, as many as they can possibly get online. Some critics question whether states have the spine to take a hard line against tech behemoths like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta. I mean, frankly, they ought to be building their own power plants. I don't know if they would really have any standing with regard to submitting applications to build nuclear power. Probably not. I mean, they probably could invest in a nuclear plant that might be overseen by some nuclear company or something like that, but maybe they could. I think they should. A nuclear plant, they cost, what, $3 to $5 billion to build a nuclear power plant. I mean, you'd think they might do that. They'd be pretty good with power for the next 50 years. But more than a dozen states have begun taking steps as data centers drive a rapid build-out of power plants and transmission lines. That has meant pressuring the nation's biggest power grid operator to clamp down on price increases, studying the effect of data centers on electricity bills, or pushing data center owners to pay a larger share of local transmission costs. That's really what they should be doing. It shouldn't be the everyday American that should be paying extra electricity just because this big-ass data center opened up nearby. I get that they're employing locals. I get that. However, in this current economy that we're in, the silent depression that some people call it, people cannot afford rate increases. They just can't do it. It's bad enough that the Biden administration let in 30, 40 million illegal immigrants, and all of them, they're weighing down our electrical infrastructure too. They're all drawing power too, just like they're all eating food too, which is contributing to higher food prices. It's all supply and demand. I mean, they're using up the utilities. They're renting millions of apartments, so on and so forth. It's all supply and demand. That's also a major reason why things are so expensive today. So rising power bills are something legislators have been hearing a lot about. It's something we've been hearing a lot about. More people are speaking out about or at the Public Utility Commission in the past year than I've seen before, said Charlotte Schiff of the Oregon Citizens Utility Board, a consumer advocacy group. There's a massive outcry. So the article goes on. It's quite lengthy. Yeah, it's actually really quite lengthy. So there's a lot of details in there. If you want to check that out, it's linked below, starting with Chicago Tribune. You'll see it down there. All right, so let's move on to Newsmax. The Trump administration is considering establishing a National Guard quick reaction force for domestic disturbances. I guarantee you it was the either the Army or the National Guard who reposted this. That's how I got my eyes on this, that it was reposted by one of our military branches. I'm assuming it was the National Guard because I follow them too. So let's take a quick look at this from Newsmax. The Pentagon plan would create military reaction force for civil unrest. The Trump admin is evaluating plans to create units composed of hundreds of National Guard troops tasked with rapidly deploying into U.S. cities facing protest or unrest, the Washington Post reported Tuesday, citing internal Pentagon documents. The Domestic Civil Disturbance Quick Reaction Force plan calls for 600 troops split into two groups of 300 to be on standby at all times so they can deploy in as little as 1 hour. The troops would be stationed at military bases in Alabama and Arizona. Wow, okay. A Defense Department official refused to confirm the report in a statement to Newsmax. The Department of Defense is a planning organization and routinely reviews how the department would respond to a variety of contingencies across the globe. We will not discuss these plans through leaked documents, pre-decisional or otherwise, the official said. The report came a day after President Donald Trump announced he was taking federal control of D.C. Yeah, we get that. Trump said the attempt to address crime and homelessness would go further than D.C., as he specifically named Baltimore, Chicago, L.A., New York, and Oakland. Trump's willingness to deploy the armed forces on American soil relies on a section of U.S. code that allows the commander-in-chief to circumvent limitations on the military's use within the U.S. And the Domestic Civil Disturbance Quick Reaction Force documents, although marked pre-decisional, are comprehensive and address potential societal implications of such a program. The documents, bearing timestamps as recent as early this month, were compiled by National Guard officials. The Post reported the plan could begin in fiscal year of 2027, so we're still a couple of years away from this if it happens. Funded through the Defense Department's traditional budgetary process, it was unclear whether the initiative could begin sooner through alternative funding. The National Guard commands currently have fast response teams for use within their home states. The, quote, Domestic Civil Disturbance Quick Reaction Force, a quote, proposal would entail moving troops from one state to another. So there you have it. That's the latest on the goings-on with the National Guard. So we might start to see that coming out in the next couple of years. All right, I did. I actually did bookmark this. So this is from Governor Greg Abbott. My lawsuit in the Texas Supreme Court against the ringleader of the derelict Democrats in the Texas House goes to the next level, closer to consequences for Texas Democrats running away from their duties and spending the summer in California and Illinois. The Supreme Court of Texas, that's the header of the document. And so read case numbers. The styles in read Greg Abbott in his official capacity as governor of the state of Texas. A consolidated brief on the merits requested with in re state of Texas. So the important things that I saw in here were the dates. So realtors shall file their briefs by Wednesday, August 20th. Respondents file their response briefs by August 29th. And realtors shall file any reply briefs by Thursday, September 4th. So I'm no lawyer. I'm no law expert. That's why I'm not going to read through all this, because it's filled with jargon, half of which I probably can't even pronounce. But the date being September 4th, I'm assuming that's the final date of this now current step that they find themselves at. So hopefully, I don't know, man. Hopefully in September, hopefully it's not something they're going to drag on for months and months. Of course, the Democrats, if they have any ability to do so, they're going to wait until the very final second of the final day for any deadlines. They're going to try to stonewall this as much as they possibly can. I just hope that there isn't any opportunity for them to do so. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to shake out, but hopefully it'll be done sooner rather than later, because Governor Abbott wants to remove them, because he gave them till last Friday and they never showed up. They're still in Illinois, Massachusetts, New York, wherever they are now. That's where they were last week. And he said if they're not back by Friday, he's going to start filing motions with the Supreme Court to get their seats removed from their seats permanently. And then he's going to hold special elections to completely replace those Democrats. So, yeah, wild, man. Hot and heavy in Texas. So this is from Rep. Nydia Velazquez. Proud to lead the call with my Dem Women Caucus colleagues, urging DHS to act against ICE impersonators attacking women. Trump's masked ICE raids make it easier for predators to strike. My No Masks for ICE Act would end these tactics for good. I mean, let's be real. The only reason they want ICE to take off their masks is so they can get doxxed, so they can send their leftist goons after them, to blow up their phones, to harass them at their houses, to spray paint their freaking garage doors. That's what they want. It's exactly what they want. They want to be harassed. That's why they wear masks. But they didn't have any problem wearing masks all throughout Congress for 2 fucking years during COVID. They didn't have a problem wearing masks then. Well, at least we got to see, you got to see our eyes, so you know it was us. Yeah, it was the same goes with ICE. You can see their eyes too. Fuck's your point. I mean, that's what I would do if I was an ICE agent. I got COVID. Yeah, that's why I got COVID. That's why I got to wear a mask. Just all of them just say they have COVID. I mean, Democrats, they love the whole masking, double masking, triple masking during COVID. I mean, how can they argue against that? But anyway, according to Alana Vagionis, multiple men have impersonated ICE agents to kidnap and assault women, and House Democrats are demanding action from DHS. So this is from the Huffington Post. I mean, I hope they got receipts to back this up, because that's a hell of a tall claim. So let's see. They're not going to paywall me, are they? All right. I didn't think Huffington Post did. So let's make this a little bit bigger. And now I'm not looking for names. I don't want them to name the victims. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, do you have actual crimes to point to, or are you just making this shit up and you're just like claiming that it's actually true? But anyway, House Democrats are urging the Department of Homeland Security to mandate that immigration officials clearly identify themselves when conducting arrests. The demand comes in the wake of multiple reports of men impersonating Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents to kidnap and assault women. The Democratic Women's Caucus demanded an action in a Monday letter sent to DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and other Trump administration officials. The letter, signed by 33 DWC members and shared exclusively with Huffington Post, urges ICE agents to visibly and clearly identify themselves when conducting immigration enforcement activities, to stop enabling impersonators who leverage women's uncertainty and fear of immigration consequences to rape, harass, and abuse them. Guns. Carry guns, ladies. Well, go around packing. Put it in your purse. Get a holster. Do whatever you need to do. If you're an American citizen, guns. Carry a gun. That's what you do. Anyway. It's just terrifying, Rep. Nydia Velazquez, an author of the letter. People cannot tell the difference between a real agent and a criminal, and that makes everyone less safe, especially immigrant women who are the most vulnerable. Dude, they've been masking up like for decades. For decades and decades. Plus, a lot of the reason why they wear the masks is it's so the criminal illegals that they're arresting don't have any way of identifying them so they can send a fucking hit squad after them. There have been at least 3 instances of men impersonating ICE agents in order to hurt women. A North Carolina man reportedly posed as law enforcement and threatened to deport an immigrant woman before he kidnapped and raped her. In Maryland, a man allegedly approached a Latina woman in a parking lot, flashed a fake ICE badge, and told her to get into his car or face deportation. He reportedly R-worded the woman in his car. I know I already said it, but before law enforcement was called. And a New York man posing as an ICE agent punched a woman in broad daylight and tried to R-word her before stealing her phone and purse. So they've got links. I'm assuming that these are going to actual. So police arrest Raleigh man accused of impersonating ICE officer and assaulting women. So there's one. So, I mean, I'm going to have to take their word for it. I mean, they've got a guy's mugshot and everything, so I'm not going to go as far as to say that they're manufacturing all of it. Oh, wait, where did it go? Did it just... Oh, okay, whatever. I guess I'll just have to open it up in a new tab. There you go. So this one is man posing as an ICE agent assaults women under threat of deportation in Prince George's County. The suspect... Do we have a name of the suspect? Let's see. Suspect approached after investigation. Congressional investigation. The alleged assault. He's in custody of the Department of Corrections. Why didn't they give us his name? I mean, it's kind of hard to... Oh, wait. Hold on. Nope, that's not his name. Identified himself as an agent. Yeah, I don't see a name. And I don't see a mugshot. So I can't 100% say that this is an actual real story. You know what I mean? But that first one, I mean, I'll take it. I'll take their word on that first one. So this one from abcnews.go.com. They're searching for a man who allegedly impersonated a federal immigration enforcement seat. Who allegedly? So we don't even know if he really impersonated an ICE officer. But back here, they're insisting that he actually did. But how do we really know that? It's because it fits the political narrative. They have to say ICE, even though he probably said, "I'm an NYPD police officer." No. Don't spin it there. Don't say that he's NYPD. Just spin it. Say it's ICE because, you know, we're trying to get all their masks off so we can freaking dox all the ICE agents. But I don't know, man. Just my opinion. It's just my opinion. I have a First Amendment right. I can give my opinion. I'm just saying that the first one, I'll give him that one. That there was at least one instance where that happened. And you know what? Those criminal scumbags should be locked up, thrown under the jail. And I don't know, maybe be paid a visit by ICE. Even if they're not illegal immigrants. Now, what the ICE agents do behind closed doors with that guy, I don't know. That's their business, not mine. All right, so this is from Lindsey Graham. President Trump is showing the world what peace through strength looks like. No one is better suited to end this war quickly and honorably. So I ended up bookmarking this because I found it kind of surprising that Lindsey Graham is on board with ending war. I thought he was more of a war hawk or I thought he was all about war with Ukraine and we got to invade immediately. And he's always talking about how, you know, we got to put our military to good use, so on and so forth. So let's check this out.
But the reason Putin is in Alaska is because President Trump announced he was going to sell weapons to Europe to help Ukraine, and that rattled Putin. But he put a 50% tariff, President Trump did, on India for buying Russian oil. He went after the second largest purchaser of Russian oil.
Well, wait a minute. Is he suggesting that just because the U.S. announced that we're selling weapons to the EU so then they can in turn give it to Ukraine, that scared Putin, and now Putin is meeting with Trump to try to put a resolve to this? I don't think that's happening at all, man. I mean, we've already given Ukraine, I've heard 80 billion. I've heard 150 billion. I guess anywhere in between, 120 billion. I don't know. Let's just go with that number. They've been using all that. Well, they're supposed to be using the money for weapons. I'm sure a lot of it wasn't used for anything except for, you know, lining pockets. After all, Ukraine's one of the most corrupt countries on earth. All right.
It keeps the war machine going in Russia. India with a 50% tariff. That's why Putin's going to Alaska. Peace through strength.
Well, yeah, the 50% tariff with India, I'm not sure how that ties in with Russian oil. It very well could in one way or another. I mean, he could sanction India. But you got to look at India's perspective, man. They're the most populated country in the world. they're still on the track to full modernization. I'm sure their GDP is still tracking up in the double digits. So it's still a rapidly modernizing country with tons and tons of motor vehicles. So they got to get their oil from somebody. And I'm sure if they get it from us, I don't think there's any way that the U.S. could supply 1.4 billion people with oil and gas, but I don't know, maybe we could. Anyway, so from Tom Fenton, I fully support real Donald Trump's decision to take control of the D.C. police and deploy the National Guard to restore the rule of law to Washington, D.C. As best as I can tell, I am President Trump's only appointee to the D.C. government as a member of the D.C. Commission on Judicial Disabilities and Tenure. Since my presidential appointment as a commissioner 5 years ago, I have witnessed up close the dysfunction and failures of the D.C. courts, federal and local prosecutors, and local D.C. government in protecting the public safety. I know directly, for instance, that my commission is now unable to review a backlog of judicial complaints due to lack of previously promised support from the mayor's office. Really? The judicial misconduct complaints may have serious ramifications for the public safety, but the commission doesn't have the staff or budget to fully review them. Our nation's capital is in crisis. There should be a top-to-bottom review of D.C. governance. Adding federal control to the police and National Guard resources is certainly necessary, but won't be sufficient to address the systemic, corrupt, and wasteful governance failures under home rule. President Trump took an important first step that I hope will ultimately lead to the rescue of my city. Yeah, I mean, he makes a great point there. I hope they do dig into the details. I mean, he would know. I think he's lived there. I know Tom Fenton. He's been a what do you call it? Like a guest, like a reoccurring guest on Fox News. He's been on there for like well over a decade. That dude's jacked. That dude's got big old cannons. All right. All right. So from Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee from, I think, Utah. Their grievance isn't with Trump. It's with the Constitution. Repeal D.C. home rule. Let's check out these protesters. Been a while since I've seen protesters chanting sweet nothings. You can't have it, Trump. Yeah, by the way, it's like probably like 11:15 on a fucking Tuesday. Get a job. Go to work. Woo! Yeah! Oh, all right. Uh-oh, he's got Trump derangement syndrome. He's raging about Trump. He's giving the press conference right now. Oh my God. All right. Well, I mean, at least they're not being violent, I guess. You know, I guess they got a right to assemble peaceably and so on and so forth. All right, from Lee Zeldin, about the New York Times use of that super scary smokestack. Over 99% of what you see in this image right here. Yeah, they're suggesting breaking news. The EPA is said to have drafted a plan that would end its ability to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. So they're trying to say that this is like greenhouse gases that are polluting the environment. But anyway, according to Lee Zeldin from the EPA, over 99% of what you see coming out of that stack is water vapor. Water vapor! Not to mention the Trump's EPA's proposal to repeal the 2009 endangerment finding is about mobile sources, vehicles, not power plants. And it's the same propaganda that they do with nuclear power plants. You see like those, what do they call those things? Scrubbers or something like that? Like those big like pillars that just spew out all of that quote unquote white smoke. Well, it's not white smoke. It's 100% steam because that's how nuclear power plants work. It turns water into steam and the steam turns the turbines and the steam goes out through that big tube or whatever the fuck they call it. It's all that propaganda. Same thing that they say with nuclear power plants on how they produce this lime green sludge, and they've got all these oil drums just piled all over the place with toxic waste. It's all fake. It's all propaganda. So I think it's just an image that he shared. Yeah, he didn't actually share the article. It's kind of a bummer, but maybe he did put it down in the comments. They do often do that. No, he didn't. Doesn't look like it. All right. Well, I mean, that's okay. I'll take his word for it. Actually, matter of fact, it's the New York Times. It's their X account. But all right. So anyway, this is from FBI Director Cash Patel. We found it. We declassified it. Now Congress can see how classified information was leaked to shape political narratives and decide if our institutions were weaponized against the American people. Exclusive Democrat whistleblower told the FBI that Schiff okayed the leaking of classified intelligence to hurt Trump. Uh-oh. This is now the third scandal that Adam Schiff is involved in. The first was his fraudulent mortgages with he filed like 3 or 4 fraudulent information to get low interest rates on his mortgages. And the other one, what was the other one? It was just yesterday. Oh yeah. They've now confirmed that he's been directly tied to 2 companies who are under criminal investigation regarding the Burisma holdings, the Hunter Biden on the board of that Ukrainian gas company. Yeah, apparently Adam Schiff was getting a lot of money from a couple companies that are directly tied to Burisma holdings, and apparently he's under investigation for that too. So this is now the third thing that I've read that Adam Schiff is now being looked at. So let's see. Oh, that is very large. All right, so a career intelligence officer who worked for Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee for more than a decade repeatedly warned the FBI beginning in 2017 that Adam Schiff had approved leaking classified information to smear then-President Donald Trump over the now debunked Russiagate scandal, according to bombshell FBI memos that Director Cash Patel has turned over to Congress. And by the way, he at the time, well, at least during the Trump impeachment, he was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. Adam Schiff was. The FBI 302 interview reports obtained by Just the News state the intelligence staffer, a Democrat by party affiliation who described himself as a friend to both Schiff, now a California senator, and former Republican House Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes, considered the classified leaking to be unethical, illegal, and treasonous, but was told not to worry about it because Schiff believed he would be spared prosecution under the Constitution's speech and debate clause. No publicly disclosed opinion from the Attorney General or the Solicitor General can be found making that determination as a matter of law, but officials told Just the News that DOJ officials showed little interest in pursuing Schiff when the allegations were brought to them years ago, citing the very same excuse the lawmaker had offered. In his most recent interview with the Bureau in 2023, the whistleblower, whose name is redacted, told agents from the FBI St. Louis office that he personally attended a meeting in which Schiff authorized leaking classified information. When working in this capacity, redacted staffer's name, was called to an all-staff meeting by Schiff. The interview report said, in this meeting, Schiff stated the group would leak classified information which was derogatory to President of the United States Donald J. Trump. Schiff stated the information would be used to indict President Trump. What? The whistleblower told investigators that he stated this would be illegal, and upon hearing his concerns, unnamed members of the meeting reassured that they would not be caught leaking classified information, the 2023 interview report stated. The staffer made similar claims to agents in the FBI's Washington field office as early as 2017, shortly after Trump took office for his first term. You can read the FBI interview reports right here, which I will link in the description. So the day after this story published, Schiff provided Just the News with a comment, quote, Cash Patel's latest smear against Senator Schiff is absolutely and categorically false, and this is just the latest in a series of defamatory attacks from the president and his allies meant to distract from their plummeting poll numbers and the Epstein Files scandal. Dude, Democrats, they're polling at what, 17% now? Schiff told Just the News. Anyway, these baseless smears are based on allegations that were found to be not reliable, not credible, and unsubstantiated from a disgruntled former staffer who was fired by House Intelligence Committee for cause in early 2017, including for harassment and potentially compromising activity on official travel for the committee. I mean, you got proof of that. Schiff added, even Trump's own Justice Department and an independent inspector general found this individual to not be credible, have little support for their contentions, and was of unknown reliability, and concluded that his accusations against members of Congress and congressional staff were not ultimately substantiated. The alleged leaks fall outside the statute of limitations for prosecution on most legal theories, but the revelations nevertheless come at a sensitive time for Schiff, who recently was referred to the Justice Department for possible prosecution for potential mortgage fraud based on a story first written by Just the News. It's not just mortgage fraud, it's bank fraud and it's wire fraud. And I believe that the minimum for all three counts that he could be facing a minimum of like 10 years in prison. I think it was 10 years in prison, if not longer than that. So that would be quite interesting and admittedly satisfying to see. So officials also said some of the DOJ officials who declined to prosecute a rash of classified leaks during the Russiagate affair remain employed in positions of power, a matter that may be of interest to lawmakers in Congress. For years, certain officials used their positions to selectively leak classified information to shape political narratives. Yeah, they did that all the fucking time. Patel told Just the News on Monday, it was all done with one purpose, to weaponize intelligence and law enforcement for political gain. Those abuses eroded public trust in our institutions, he added. The FBI will now lead the charge with our partners at DOJ, and Congress will have the chance to uncover how political power may have been weaponized to restore accountability, he said. Schiff, who previously served as the ranking member and then chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, okay, that was the one he was chairman of, before ascending to the Senate, pushed false allegations of Trump-Russia collusion for many years and touted British ex-spy Christopher Steele's discredited dossier, even reading multiple baseless claims from it into the Congressional record in March 2017. Yep, he did. Fucking insane. The whistleblower began approaching the FBI that same year. Let's see. In one meeting, the Democratic HPSCI staffer told the FBI that retired Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, Trump's first national security advisor, was to be a specific focus of the committee as part of a broader effort to target Trump. The whistleblower also specifically pointed to Rep. Eric Swalwell, Democrat of California, Swalwell, as a likely source of classified leaks, the memos state. So this is a really long article, so I'll just stop there. So I left off right here, punishment for duty to law instead of party loyalty, but yeah, it goes on and on, man. Look at this. This is a hell of a read. Damn, it'd take like an hour to go through that. But obviously, every bit of this is really, it's big news. It's really big news. So, yep, Adam Schiff bandit keeps getting caught in scandal after scandal, but it's 100% his doing. He started all of this, and I hope they just punish them to the fullest extent they could possibly do. But of course they won't, because it'll probably get in front of a leftist judge who will probably just slap him on the wrist and time served and so on and so forth. Yes, you get to keep all your properties and your interest rates. All right, so from Catherine Clark, Donald Trump has never cared about law and order. He incited an insurrection. Haven't you heard? He pardoned the criminals who attacked our Capitol Police. He covered up the Epstein files. He politicized the FBI, and now he's doing the same to DC's local police. So she's responding to the New York Times. Breaking news. President Trump said he was taking control of the police in DC and deploying 800 National Guard troops there in response to out-of-control crime, even though violent crime in the city has fallen. Follow live updates. I mean, yeah, I went over that yesterday with regards to the old January 6th thing. I'm not even going to repeat myself with all that. You know, we all know the hundreds of different riots that the left has been engaged in, and they can't point to one single riot that the conservatives, the Republicans, the right, America First, whatever you want to call them, they haven't engaged in any riots. No smashing, no looting, no toppling statues, no burning down police precincts, none of that shit. Because yeah, conservatives, they don't do that. They work, they have families, they have responsibilities, they have accountability, and they take accountability seriously. But over on the left, they don't. So of course they had to stage January 6th because they were sick of the right being able to point to all of these riots and all these lootings and the whole 9 yards, but they couldn't point to any instances where the right had engaged in any of that, so they had to manufacture it. Anyway, I don't know if there's any decent comments or anything with regard to this, but so your owners put together a focus group, and the new narrative is January 6th and Epstein. Pretty pathetic, if you ask me. You are all using the same talking points, about as obvious as you can get. Yeah, it is. It's tired talking points. The same boring nonsense, and everybody knows they're full of shit. Yep. USAFU. Why did DC suspend a high-ranking officer for manipulating crime numbers lower? Right. You're counting on your constituents being ignorant to fact-check you. That said, the truth is out, and you don't have enough imbeciles to get you lying jackwads reelected. You're going down, hooker. Let's see. He did not incite in a resurrection. Insurrection. Pelosi did. Yeah, she did. We all know they did. I mean, even AOC was caught in a lie. She claimed that she was in the Capitol building when it happened, and she could hear the rioters outside her door yelling, "Where is she? Where is she?" And she made it all up. She wasn't even in the Capitol when that happened. She was in a completely different area. She wasn't even there. It was all verified. Yeah, if you want to look that up, look that up. Look up what AOC was really up to on January 6th. You'll find it to be a little hilarious, but I'm sure you probably already know about all that. So you are saying you would prefer more crime victims? Oh, Trump is following the law. Yeah, he is. Nancy did that. Yeah, she did. She's the only one that cares about law and order. Yep. And so on and so forth. All right, so the next one, Secretary of the Army. So thanks to POTUS and Secretary of Defense's leadership, the DC National Guard has been activated and will be supporting law enforcement to make our nation's capital safer. So they actually shared the official letter, the approval letter from Brigadier General Leland Blanchard, Commanding General, District of Columbia National Guard. Dear General Blanchard, on August 11th, 2025, the President of the United States directed the rapid mobilization of the District of Columbia's National Guard to support law enforcement organization. This mobilization will support restoring law and order in the District of Columbia as directed in the presidential memoranda dated August 11th, 2025. Approval. I approve the use of the DCNG to provide critical support to law enforcement efforts in the District of Columbia. Signed, Dan Driscoll, Secretary of the Army. Oh, crap. I didn't mean to do that. Okay. That's all right. We'll get back to it. Every once in a while, I screw up and do that. Hey, look at that. I got lucky. All right. So this is from Vice President J.D. Vance. So VP Vance sits down on the Katie Miller podcast to talk about his life as the vice president with small children. Watch the full episode below. So we're not going to watch the full episode, but we'll get a minute clip out of it.
What's easier on your kids, the White House schedule or the Senate schedule? Which did you see your kids more with?
That's a good question.
Probably
Honestly,
Senate.
We've been able to make it work in both ways. So with the Senate schedule, it's less, it's more predictable, but it's also you have less control. In the White House, unless the president needs me to do something, I have complete control over my schedule.
I'm sure Trump's always having him do stuff. I mean, Trump is, like, to call him a busy man is such an understatement. He's got to be the busiest president the nation's probably ever experienced. That dude's juggling 1,000 things all at once. It's unbelievable what he's capable of.
Also, there's a lot
pretty wild
going on, and you're more reactive to world events. The thing that I try to do, and maybe this is like a good advice for husbands and fathers, is I try to take a couple of hours every day and make them as sacred as possible. And yes, if like a war breaks out, then sometimes you have to cancel.
Oh yeah, duty calls.
But we've been pretty good about making sure that I have at least a couple of hours with my family every single day. And sometimes that means, I'm on the phone until 3 a.m. or sometimes that means I'm back in the White House after I put the kids to bed. But just have that sacred time that you protect, that you turn out the phone, you tune out work, and you just focus on your wife and your kids. And that's worked very well for us. And even this job, it's possible.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, I'm sure his wife is more than understanding. I mean, he's the vice president, for crying out loud. I mean, talk about a husband that you could admire, for sure, to say the least. So that was pretty cool. It was a little heartwarming clip there in the midst of all this crazy news that we're dealing with. So the DoD rapid response. This was from yesterday at 7:34 p.m. So that's why I missed it yesterday, because I started my show right before they posted this. But anyway, the question is, are you worried that the cartels are just moving everything around now that they know there is a target on their back? And Secretary of Defense answers that question.
Well, are you worried that now the cartels are just moving everything around, that they know that there's a target on their back? They're just like hiding everything, however they do that?
We're watching. We know a
We're
little
watching.
bit more than they think we might know about them. We've spent a lot of attention
We have satellites.
watching them. We're focused on this. It's a presidential
We have lots of
priority.
fun
It's
toys.
our priority. We're working with federal partners to identify that all across the Western Hemisphere. This is something we're not taking lying down anymore. If you're trafficking in drugs, you're trafficking in people, you're trafficking in violence that affect the American people, that's unacceptable, and the Defense Department's going to be a part of solving
Yeah, you're getting caught, man. Yeah, drugs on the streets, they're about to get really expensive, man. They're cracking down on everybody. Even those semi-submersibles, I don't know if you've ever seen those. The drug cartels, they got really crafty with smuggling drugs by sea, and they developed these semi-submersibles. They're essentially boats that like 90% of the boat is underwater. It's essentially like a submarine, but only like a little bit of it is poking above the water. And they're somewhat effective in avoiding detection, but I'm sure they're busting them too. So here's another one from DoD Rapid Response question. Will the National Guard be detaining Americans on American soil? I thought that was an interesting question.
National Guard be detaining Americans on American soil?
Under Title 32, which is the authorization they'll be using, they have broad latitude, but they're not going to be involved in law enforcement functions. They will be standing right alongside our federal agents like they were in Los Angeles. They're going to be proactive. If you take an action or a shot at them, there will be a consequence. So they're going to be strong.
If a crime is being committed, in other words,
will they shoot back?
If a National Guardsman sees a crime being committed, then what?
They can come alongside and assist law enforcement.
What if law enforcement isn't on
then
that
they can
corner?
take. Then they
They
will,
hold back
I
the
will have
crowd.
their back to
Crowd
ensure
control.
they can take the necessary action to protect citizens of D.C. and to protect themselves. So there's no rogue law enforcement going on from the National Guard, but there's also the application of common sense. We're not going to have National Guardsmen sitting there like this, seeing a crime committed and not do something about it. You can help somebody, interdict, temporarily detain, like we did in Los Angeles, and hand over to law enforcement.
Oh, so they will.
The National Guard can be trained to do.
So in certain circumstances, if they see a crime taking place, then they'll essentially just tackle the guy and hold on to him until the cops get there. I mean, why not? That citizens are allowed to do that. Citizens arrest. If you see somebody committing a crime, you could tackle them and hold them down until the cops get there. All right, so from Secretary Lori Chavez de Raymer, congratulations, Real, E.J., and Tony. I look forward to working together to provide the American people with fair and accurate economic data they can rely on. And by the way, this individual is E.J. Antoni, PhD. He's an economist for Vince Collianis. Not sure about that on the details. But anyway, so that was in response to Rapid Response 47. Congratulations. And this is from Donald J. Trump's Truth Social account. I am pleased to announce that I am nominating highly respected economist Dr. E.J. Antoni as the next commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Our economy is booming, and E.J. will ensure that the numbers released are honest and accurate. I know E.J. Antoni will do an incredible job in this new role. Congratulations, E.J. Yeah, that couldn't come soon enough. Frankly, you should have hired him like way back in February. But yeah, good news. It's good news. They replaced that leftist, what's her name? The one that kept fudging up the numbers to make it look like the job numbers were worse than what they actually were. But anyway, so another one from Rapper's Response, same thing. Trump's True Social. I have just signed an executive order that will extend the tariff suspension on China for another 90 days. All other elements of the agreement will remain the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. So that's going to happen for another 90 days. I'm curious to find out what's going on with TikTok, man. What's up with the whole TikTok thing? What's the progress with that? Because I know I'm probably one of the outliers, but I want them to shut it down. I think they should get rid of TikTok. Too many of our young Americans, the adults and teenagers, they're getting TikTok brain, man. They're getting memories of a goldfish. It's not good. And plus, the CCP has full control over TikTok. They'll say they don't. They'll say ByteDance has control over it, but come on, let's be real. It's a Chinese company. Chinese CCP, they can look into anything they want. Now, let me reword it this way. See what that comes up with. I haven't heard anything on this for a couple months. TikTok sale to the U.S. buyers is ongoing with the deadline extended to September. There you go, September 17th of 2025. U.S. only app M2 is being developed for launch by September 5th, 2025. To address national security concerns, potential buyers include Oracle, Frank McCourt, and others, but no deal is finalized and Chinese government approval remains a hurdle. I heard this. I heard a rumor about this, that ByteDance is working on a... Yeah, see, look at this. Check this shit out. So if they sell TikTok, look what they're going to do. Yes, ByteDance is developing a U.S.-only version of TikTok, codenamed M2, to launch September 5th, 2025. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because TikTok is banned in China, I think, isn't it? Pretty sure it's banned. They'll operate on separate infrastructure to comply with U.S. regulations addressing national security concerns. The original TikTok app will remain available until March of 26, when users must switch to M2. So, yeah, it's getting a little convoluted there. I don't know, man. But anyway, that's the latest on TikTok, because you were curious. So, Homeland Security, Americans answering the call. Applications for ICE.gov have reached almost 100,000 since President Trump and Secretary Noem called on patriotic Americans to defend our homeland. If you want to join the best of the best and remove the worst of the worst, apply today. at joinice.gov.
We have almost 100,000 applications for ICE law enforcement just since last week when Secretary Noem and President Trump called on patriotic Americans to join our ranks. If you want to join the fight and clean up America's streets, go to join.ice.gov. We're calling on all patriotic Americans to join, and there's no age cap.
Yep, there you have it. No age cap, up to a $50,000 sign-on bonus. And, oh, what was the other one? The other one was, had to do with student loan debt. I think it was like 60,000, wasn't it? I think it was like 60,000, somewhere around there. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, looks like that's all I got for today. That's it. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like the video if you have a quick chance to do so, and also subscribe to the channel. It's a new channel. It would really mean a lot to me. And I'll drop a new show every evening covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, and the agencies, and everything else. I also post daily episodes to my X account, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. Thanks for watching, and God bless America.